Lourdes. On the surface, it appears to be like any of 100 other small villages in southern France. But the walls of the Grotto of Lourdes are covered with the canes and crutches of thousands of people who have claimed miraculous healings at this world-famous shrine. Since St. Bernadette's visions of the Virgin Mary 100 years ago, millions of the diseased and crippled have come to Lourdes with dreams of banishing their pain and suffering. Many of the cures have defied modern science. The paralyzed walk, the blind see, and cancer vanishes from ravaged bodies. The village of Lourdes has become a place of miracles. From the beginning of time, there's been an urgent need to heal the sick. Once disease was blamed on evil spirits, and the cure was to frighten the demons away, and sometimes the patient went with them. Other people believed that the mere touch of a saintly hand brought miraculous cure or recovery. Today, with all the knowledge of modern medicine, many still look to unorthodox means for achieving and maintaining physical and spiritual health. Some of these methods, often shocking, bizarre, and just downright amazing, are explored here as we meet the underground doctors. Not all unorthodox healing practices were developed in the West. Narbu Chen, at one time an alleged hitman for the mafia, learned amazing ancient healing techniques from a Tibetan Lama while hiding out for 18 months in a tiny cave high in the remote Himalayas. Narbu Chen lived in constant fear for his life. In the United States, he'd been involved in a major political scandal. His job was to acquire documents embarrassing to the administration of a state government in the South. He had first to get himself convicted of a felony, for the papers he wanted were located in the penitentiary.
Now, what I was promised for doing this job was $10,000, a high job in state government, and a complete and free pardon. I was released not with the $10,000, not with a pardon, but I was given a high job in state government. I walked away, took my state car, went out, got drunk, so drunk that I drove through a fire line, was picked up by the local police. They saw the badge, they saw the gun, they picked them up, and within 1 hour there were 2 other hatchet men coming to pick up my credentials. They put me not in prison again, but in a mental institution. I was removed 2 hours before they were transferring me to Ward 10, which is the electroshock therapy ward. I was told to get in a certain car outside the canteen, cover myself with a blanket, and I would be safe. And then I was provided with a way out of the country. I made my way to England, quite in the way that a recent assassin did. And I'd always wanted to see the British Museum. They have a fantastic Egyptian room there. On the way to the Egyptian room, I passed a little Tibetan display, I would say, that they have there from the expedition of the latter 1800s. And I looked and I stopped and I felt a kinship. In the city of Rumtek in Sikkim, I just happened upon my Lama, and he looked at me and he said, "You've been a long time coming." He told me it was time to go into a gom. A gom is a small rock shelter that's been walled in. There is no light. There's nothing of the outside world that can interfere in a gom. It had a little spring that ran through the back end of it, and in the top end, you did your washing, and in the bottom end, you used it as a latrine. I spent 11 and a half months in total darkness. I was given one meal every third day. The way they know if you're healthy or not is if at the end of 9 days 3 meals are not taken, they unwall the gampa and they know you're dead. After 3.5 years of instruction, he informed me that my place was not with him, but that I was come to the Western world, the land of my birth, and carry on with the instruction that I had. I went through a regular regimen of instruction, which is probably about 4,000 years old. Behind me sits the Choje Lama, a Mongolian who is a Tibetan Lama. He is an Umchi, a Tibetan doctor trained in Mongolia in the Tibetan way, and he helps us both with the homeopathic medicine and when I need a backup in terms of diagnostics. And I have 8 physicians or MDs who are my students at the present time. We're having it rough, but we're forging ahead, just as my mama said. And I firmly know that I will triumph in the end, regardless of what is said or done to or for me.
When I went down to investigate Norbu Chen, I was literally investigating him. I had total doubts. My information was that he was a practicing witch and should be wiped from the face of the earth with bad press.
Well, up until about 3 or 4 years ago, I was really to the point where I thought these people that were involved in the psychic field and the so-called healers very likely should be locked up with a straitjacket.
When I arrived, it was a pleasure to have a healer, a person who claims to be a healer, be so open as to say, you're here to check me out? Good, I want to be checked out thoroughly, because I do what I claim. And that's new.
With 14 years of practicing medicine under my belt when I arrived in Houston, I was suddenly thrown into a situation in which I was seeing people recovered with nothing more than a touch of the hand, so to speak. You have to begin to redefine an awful lot of things when you see this happening.
One of the problems with the accepting a person's testimony for healing when they're deathly ill and then suddenly well again is that there are so many variables in the human body that is considered unscientific. So the scientific mind wants to close down the parameters on this and really look at it.
When I began this process, my vision was 2400. That, by definition, in the state of Texas is being legally blind. It's 2020 now. Maybe there are things in other societies that have been known for thousands of years that we are unable to comprehend. Maybe we are the ones that ought to change.
Many psychics claim they are sensitive to an energy field which pervades the universe. Could this be the very source and substance of their healing power? The work of Wayne Cook may offer a clue. He is a successful practitioner of the ancient technique of dowsing. Basically, that's finding water with a divining rod. For years, he's been transforming the parched earth of ranches all over Southern California into fertile rangeland.
Okay, it starts right here, you see. Here's the beginning of it. Come here, Nancy. I want you to mark this for me. Sit down there. I want you to earn your cow can, kid. If you don't make your money, you can't eat. All right, this is the beginning of it right here. You see, now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You see it uncross at 9? Okay, dear, you can quit. Now, this is the beginning of the stream. It goes right down through here and goes into the other man's property. Now, I'm going to show you the exact center of the stream. It goes to the right over here. As we move across here sideways, it continues to the right until we hit the exact center. Then it goes straight up and down, and it goes back to the left over here. The next method is we take this rod. This picks up the direction of flow. Now, you see how the angle? That means it's flowing pretty fast. The water's coming up here. As it starts out through the channel, it gains in intensity as it flows down. Now I'll show you the way we tell how deep it is. This rod will count in feet. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 7, 9, 10, 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You've been hauling your water how long?
18 years now.
18 years. Boy, that's a long time to be hauling water with something like this right on your property.
Can't believe it.
Isn't that beautiful?
Oh, good. I'll try. Boy, that's better than what I get down the hill.
Yeah. Better than any water you'll get anywhere. This has no chemicals in it. Look here. Come in, Nancy, and taste this. Oh.
I'm going to flood this country out.
How about that for a coyote, huh? That's sure a little hard. Doesn't that feel good? That's real. And we have an unlimited supply all over the world. All we have to do is tap it. Woo-hoo!
I can't hardly believe it.
Anytime.
18 years.
Wayne Cook believes that the body and its energy resemble the Earth's water flow. He has turned his theories and dowsing rods toward the practice of healing human beings, treating the patient's energy body, which he claims governs the health of its physical counterpart.
Now, what we have to find is what is making that energy blockage. Somewhere in your system, there's a blockage of the vital essence of life that flows through the meridians of your body. You see, Martin, everything in the universe has either a bipolar polarity, a positive polarity, a negative polarity, or an oscillating polarity. Now here, looking at the mineral in this bottle, is a bipolar. Here's the positive, comes over here and splits in the center and goes back to negative. Now I have in this sink that I was discharging the conflict energy out of your body, about 95 different elements. I have a cigarette in the bottom, which gives me 47 poisons, and I have 2 aspirins, which I get another 5 out of. There are many elements in there that pick up many different frequencies, but here's what it does. With my hand folded around the rod this way, positive and negative, I don't get any energy field out of this at all until I bring this hand within an 18-inch radiation field. Now I'm picking it up. You see it oscillate to the right, back to the left again, back and forth like that. Now, as long as I hold my hand here, this will do this. If I come in closer, it accentuates or amplifies, you see? And now I start shaking again because I have knocked my energy back down to 0. There's a vortex energy that flows out of the chakras. This is the first chakra. This is the beginning of the river of life. On you, this is supposed to be a positive polarity. It goes up here, and it goes back to positive, which is backwards. It goes to negative here, positive on the chin, negative on the upper lip, and positive on top of the head. Your whole channel, which is the river of life that flows this beautiful essence of life, is completely reversed. Now, I have a system of reversing this back. When I reverse it back to its normal channel, then all of the energy in your body will be released, and you will feel an immediate difference. I can give you energy by taking a cosmic quick charge. I build this way and go. Now, I built that energy up to a high plane, and I can circulate this through here, through my body, and through here, and concentrate it right here. Now, you look right between my eyes so we don't clash polarities. Now, as this energy transfers, it brings your battery up to the same charge level as mine. How do you feel?
Well, I feel very strange.
Yeah. But better.
I can't really verbalize it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel different.
Why did you come over to see me?
Primarily for the demonstration, but more out of curiosity. I wondered what you were about.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard you mention that I was guided here. That could be true. I don't discount anything in you.
Well, this universal energy covers every phase of life in the universe. It covers the witch doctor. It covers the Indian medicine man. It covers the faith healers. It covers everything. It covers the medical profession. Anything that has been done in the body to improve the body had to be done through the universal energy, which I call God. If you call it Ugo Mugo, that is perfectly all right because it's the same identical energy. And if you believe in that, this is where your healing will take place. As this beautiful energy comes in and flows through, it's just like a beautiful mountain stream flowing down through the rocks, cleansing everything as it goes and taking all the filth out. If you quit putting the filth in and flush it out, you will go to a higher plane, and then a higher plane, and then a higher plane.
Developed by and named after Dr. Ida Rolf, an 80-year-old medical doctor, Rolfing is designed to realign the entire body structure. Some people may find this method of deep muscle manipulation unusual.
Bob, you're cutting into me.
Good. That's the focus. Now let me in. Let me in. Stay with me. Breathe right into my hand. Breathe right into my hand. That's it. Breathe right into my hand. Go with what I'm doing. Good.
You're cutting me.
Beautiful. That's it. Good. Good. Okay.
Can you imagine a knife just going right through your body and being able to just experience it? Was it pain? Was it pleasure? As I began to let my body go, it was as if it was a breaking through and a release.
The beginning is the infancy of this little baby comes into this world very pure, very innocent. Along comes with our culture and our society the repressiveness of the feeling and the expressing of one's own emotions. Little child comes home crying, and mommy or daddy says to that child, listen, don't cry. Crying is only for babies. You're a big boy now, you know. So the little child begins to, in order to please mommy or daddy, begins to repress, holds back the expression of his sadness, of his grief. And again, the holding back is done by squeezing in and tightening those muscles that we would use to express grief. Around our muscles, we have a layer of tissue that we call fascia. Fascia is a thin and elastic tissue in its healthy state. And so when we emotionalize, the muscle expands and contracts this way, and so does this fascia expand and contract. So if we start chronically then holding back the expression, keeping our muscle tight, this fascia no longer is doing this, and because of the disuse, begins to become fibrous. It becomes hardened. So as an adult, we get into therapy and we learn cognitively that it's okay to cry now. You don't have to keep your tears back. It's okay. Men do cry. And yet we still find difficulty in feeling sad and expressing our sadness. So rolfing then is for the purpose of stretching the fascia. And in the process of stretching, the fascia regains its elasticity, and we once more have an availability of the muscle. So what I look for is where the block is to the flow of energy. And the block is usually the resultant of the tightening up, the holding back the expression of our feelings. Our energy in our Western culture is the concept of energy flow is only beginning. The Chinese have known it for many, many years. It's called the qi. In the state of Nevada now, they're so into energy flow that they've just passed a law on acupuncture. Acupuncture is for the purpose of eliminating the blocks in the body of this flow of energy.
The medical profession is beginning to use so-called underground methods of treatment, such as acupuncture and acupressure. These techniques embody a physical dimension that most other psychic manifestations often lack. Because of this, data of a more definitive and measurable nature is becoming available.
I'm Thelma Moss, and I'm here to show you some of the research that we have been doing using Kirlian photography to study acupuncture. We use contact photography, for which we take a piece of 4x5 film. It's placed on the electrode. We take pictures of his index finger pad. Using this technique, we are able to process the film immediately to look for results. Acupuncture theory states that there is an invisible energy flow along invisible channels called meridians. Further, when an arm or finger is injured, the energy will flow differently on the injured side of the body. Professional acupuncturists often find these points with their fingers, but some Western researchers are now using electrical devices to detect the points. Attaching a clip to the ear, then a probe is moved along the skin. Where the electrical resistance is lower than the surrounding area, a light goes on, indicating the acupuncture point. The point just located affects the ring finger. Our subject had recently sprained her right ring finger, and to study a possible imbalance of energy, Kirlian movies were taken. The injured finger on the right shows far more brilliance and breadth than the emanations from her healthy finger. Well, we've been talking about a balanced energy flow. That's one theory of acupuncture. There's another one, a little bit more strange, that says certain points on the body are tonification points. They will energize. And other points are sedation points. They'll tranquilize, they'll calm the energy flow. Well, 5,000-year-old theory. But in a recent study, we seem to find that that theory might be valid. I asked Drs. Bressler and Koenig to arrange a blind study to explore sedation and tonification points. The first thing we did was to take moving pictures of the toes of a male subject. The right foot is on the top and the left foot is on the bottom. The emanations from both feet are approximately equal. After these pictures were taken, Dr. Koenig inserted needles in two different places. No one, except Dr. Koenig, knew which, if either point, was a tonification or sedation point. "20 minutes after the needles were removed, this picture gives a very dramatic representation of the difference between the tonification point, which is the lower foot, where the toes are luminescing brilliantly, in sharp contrast to the upper toes, where the point that was stimulated was a sedation point. Those emanations have decreased considerably."
Acupressure is, in a sense, acupuncture without needles. Dr. Jackie McCandless, a Los Angeles psychiatrist, began using this technique to supplement the treatment of her patients. She soon found that in many of her cases, it was more successful than conventional forms of therapy.
And what really impressed me when I started working with energy concepts were the changes in the work with my patients. They got well faster. They got into their own health systems faster. They liked the idea of being able to do things that they could handle themselves rather than leaving it all in the hands of the doctors. For instance, the acupuncture massage points. I'm going to start with this point right above the upper lip. This is called governing vessel 26. It's a sedative point. Then we go up to these points above the eyes. They're very good for headache. There are points along the top of the head, also for headache and for tension. All of them are energy points also. We have across here a line of points called the Portal of Heaven by the Chinese. They're very important energy points, especially important for stimulating sexual energies. People with sexual problems really do seem to respond more quickly to touching kinds of therapies, self-healing therapies, rather than the talking kinds of therapies. Use your belly button as a marker. Put your fingers in your belly button. Now put your thumbs out and go straight back. Now make your thumbs go around. The place you reach will hit these very important points. Now massage. I had an opportunity to go to a workshop in acupuncture. It was the first one given for physicians in the United States. They gave it at the Edgar Cayce Foundation in Phoenix, Arizona. So I went to this 4-day workshop, and they gave us needles. So I came home very proud of my new expertise, and I gave a little acupuncture party for some of my colleagues and friends. And to my surprise, people were so turned on. I was putting a needle in their crown point up here, and they were getting so turned on and so high. The ones who usually used marijuana said they didn't need it because they were so high. They really felt it was better than any trip they'd ever been on. And I said, hey, if this makes healthy people feel good, what must it do for my depressed patients? Most people instinctively know, they intuitively know where their points are. Just to have someone lead them in that direction, pretty soon when they start feeling their bodies, they feel the points that need to be rubbed. And their energy systems would be increased, both from the energy manipulations they were doing and from the idea that they could do it themselves rather than always having to depend so much on the doctors. This was the most exciting part of the whole healing and self-healing programs that I've been involved in.
Healers themselves have many theories about why their particular methods are effective in curing the ills and injuries of those patients whose doctors have all but given up on them. Of all the healers in modern history, it's believed that all the world has been studied by more parapsychological researchers than any other. Dr. World maintains that her healing involves a channeling of energy directly into the patient. This energy, she says, comes from a universal field, allowing the aura surrounding her to be an energy conductor between the universe and the patient.
This picture represents the liquid before you held your hands around it, and this picture represents the liquids after you held your hands around it. And as you can see, afterwards, after you held the water in your hand, the Curlian photo showed up much, much differently than before.
Mm-hmm.
All this around here is broken away, and the discharge itself has changed its patterns dramatically.
Mm. It certainly shows us something's happening.
Apparently so. How do you think these photographs might represent your healing energy?
The healing energy I like to refer to as paraelectricity because it has electrical properties, but not the type of electrical properties that we experience in ordinary electricity. So there is something in that power, energy, paraelectricity that has intelligence, and it knows what to do.
We use enzymes, blood serums from a patient in a hospital who had a disease, as well as water, tap water and distilled water. And we would take photos, Curlian photos, of the chemicals on thin glass plates. And Olga would hold vials of the chemicals, or the enzymes, and attempt to heal them as she would a person. And we would again take photographs of them and see the difference in the Curlian photographs. Olga, why don't you work on this vial like you're working on a person?
All right. Now, I called it paraelectricity because when the energy is flowing through my fingertips, I can feel a tingling, and sometimes I feel tremendous heat. And then again, I may just feel perfectly natural and normal. Now, there's one thing that over the years my husband and I have discovered, that this energy is neutral. And it is what we will it to do. We can use it for good or for evil. However, if we use it for evil, for destruction, it comes back to us and it destroys us. So it is very important that we understand what we're doing. This is dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. Now, when this energy is directed to a sick body, it has the intelligence to know what to do. The energy goes
to the point of least resistance or low potential. The body always wants to have balance, and this energy has the ability to balance up all systems. And when all systems are balanced, then we have healing. Now, this is not replacing the skills of a medical doctor, but it is supporting a medical doctor who is a channel for this healing energy. It is something that must be gone into a great deal more to see just what its properties are, and this is where the scientist comes in.
Hold it.
Hold it and
Yes.
It's all set up here.
And you just take the top off so that you won't touch it.
We're learning from the experiments that we're doing that there is some force, some power that can be used to help mankind. And so I feel that it is important that we continue these experiments because it's going to support what man has been doing for eons of time, using an energy that he knows nothing about, and yet the results are there.
It was a motorcycle accident. I was driving down the street and a car hit me on my left side and almost literally tore off my leg. They had me in the hospital for 4 months and tried 5 operations then. Approximately I was in the body cast for 2 years, and they tried 2 more operations. The first one was a complete failure. They told me that they could only have 1 more, and they did the other one a year ago, last January. They had talked about amputation for the last 2 years.
As a member of the Southern California Society for Psychical Research, Douglas Johnson has been called a modern-day Edgar Cayce, one of the most renowned healers of the 20th century. Like Cayce, Mr. Johnson has been said to perform miracles, specializing in so-called hopeless cases.
I had my last operation in January. For 4 months, I didn't heal. And at that time, a friend of my mother's went to a psychic, and my mother asked her if she would mention my name. And as she was leaving, she did. And he told her that unless I went to Douglas Johnson, I'd have 2 more bad years. Within a month and a half to 2 months after I seen Doug, I was out of the body cast, and my leg was healing. And within a month and a half after I got out of the cast, I was walking on my leg, and it was getting stronger.
Peter, I feel very, very good here because you've gotten lots of response. I want you to remember that healing continues, and you have to keep an open mind now. To know that sometimes 2 and 3 days later, people are still starting to continue to feel reactions. So we know that the healing does not cease just from this treatment. We'll keep working with you, even though you're not here. The healing works in many different ways. I believe that there is a physical force that we draw on that's in the atmosphere. I believe, of course, in the power of thought, prayer, whatever you want to call it there. We've had long-distance healings, getting through to people we've never even met. So you know it has to then, in that case, come from a thought wave.
60-year-old aerospace engineer Howard Thrasher has been conducting experiments in healing for some 35 years. He describes his techniques as transferring his energy into his patients, thereby absorbing their disorders.
I try to enter the senses, all 5 senses. This turns out then to be a broadcast. Once it builds to a certain point, it broadcasts itself to the cells and the organs down one side and then also up the other way to every person in the room. And I only work on those who have real problems. It's very much, if you can imagine a person being like a piece of wire. When the wire has bends in it, each bend is an illness. If you go to a medical doctor, one is ulcers, and one is sore back, and one is migraine headache, and the doctor takes each bend at a time and tries to straighten it out. This method, I grab a hold of the end of the wire and pull on it, and I really can't predict what's going to happen in between because I'm not working on any one illness specifically. As I entered the headache, I became your headache, and then I felt digestive problems. So then I instead of attention on the head, I went into the stomach and I could feel the head sort of relaxing.
Yes, that's when I got greater relief also.
The thermostat on the wall is not related to the main energy system of the heating and cooling at all. And I believe that our body has done the same thing. Whatever or whoever designed this thing designed the control system totally separate. It's not part of the heart or the liver or the nervous system or the lymph or the endocrines. That's the main energy. But off to the side someplace are the controls. This is the computer that tends to run the whole thing. And these are the energies that the psychics and the healers have worked with for thousands of years. Today, in all healing systems, if there's something wrong with the heart, you look to the heart instead of searching first in the thermostat. If you flip the right switches in the thermostat field, the heart will turn on. You don't have to cut it out and take pieces and feed it drugs and play all kinds of games with it.
Not much, just a little bit of tightness.
Whereabouts? Low or high or medium?
It's mostly high.
Okay. Feels like the pain is lessened in your back.
It is. And I can feel a pressure here, though. I feel a pressure in my chest, too. Swallow. What are you doing?
Okay. How are you doing now?
My MSC level is up and my headache is gone.
Do you still have that pain in your back?
No, it's gone now. It just drained down from my neck, right down my spine, and just gone.
Many doctors and healers maintain that illnesses are the result of a disruption or imbalance somewhere within our bodies. They further believe that we program all our ailments and that they are the result of an attitude of the mind. If disease is caused by our mind, can it be cured by our mind too?
I've been on conventional chemotherapy for almost a year, and I was very dissatisfied with it. It was very bizarre to me. I was at the point I looked like a reject from Dachau. I'd lost all my hair. I was very pallid. I had no appetite. I'd lost most of my will to live because I wasn't really living. I was existing. So I just sat down and went into a relaxed state and thought these pictures. And this particular picture I used a lot was that my immunity system, the white blood cells, were white husky dogs, a big army of those, and the cancer was a vicious turtle. And they went into a death-dealing struggle, and of course the white blood cells won out. And I had an examination, and he got so excited I couldn't believe it. Well, I had this fantasy that, my God, tumors are all over me and they're that big. And what had really happened when he told me the news was it had shrunk 75% in mass. And 2 weeks after that, which was 4 weeks from, 8 weeks rather, from the time I began the technique, I was pronounced disease-free by every test given cancer patients.
The ancient Greeks claimed that mind and body could not be separated. Only recently has there been serious consideration given to the possibility that the power of the mind can affect physiological functioning. It now seems clear that mental and physical factors can help stimulate the body's intrinsic healing powers. Dr. Robert Sharp, a holistic healer, has developed a dramatic approach to dissolving the blocks that keep the body from functioning properly. What you're about to see should not be considered a death experience, but rather a release of the very life force itself.
It's hard for me to realize that I'm going to have the death experience. I understand there's some pain involved. I also feel that it's going to be rather a cleansing process. The other side that I keep from people is really a mess. Terribly insecure. There's a lot of frustration and a lot of personal condemnation. I don't like myself a whole lot.
What we hope to accomplish is to release some of the holdings, the blockings, so then she has a clearer understanding of how life functions.
I'm really afraid of living. It's a great deal of responsibility.
The technique is primarily those things which, in my own experience, I have found workable to release the person from the various beliefs, judgments, attitudes, considerations, opinions, etc., that they have locked themselves into. She recognizes that her life is not moving or flowing the way she would like. She has considered this would be a means or a method of assisting her in her direction.
I feel rather mystical and ritualistic about the death experience. I really don't expect not to come back.
I don't wish it to be labeled as a death press because of the connotations and so forth in people's minds of what death is, and the press is not death. It's actually releasing life. It's releasing the flow of life, and it's releasing you unto life, not unto death. The technique or the method is a number of things. Part of it is working on muscles, which are in a locked state, representing some kind of a locked-on condition. And on the other hand, for every muscle that is in a locked-on or spastic condition, there is an emotional corollary. What happens physiologically, it is applying a pressure to the spinal column, and the amount of pressure is largely determined by the patient's resistance.
I'm trying to let go of struggling. I would like to be able to just let things be and really feel that way. It's very miserable, feeling the way I feel.
Be aware of your sensations, location of sensation, any emotional feelings that are coming up, any thoughts, images, recalls, pictures of the past. I don't have any idea what all she's holding on to, and she doesn't either. But as we work to release these things, then it begins coming to her consciousness what she's holding on to. Anything, grief, disappointment,
Panic.
fear, panic, anger, rage,
A lot of anger.
outrage, letting yourself recall when you had those feelings before, seeing what happened. Life is basically a two-sided affair. Don Juan calls it tonal and nawal. You could say that the nawal is the realm that people call heaven, and the tonal is this side, the ordinary reality, and what the press is doing is taking a person momentarily into the nawal.
When he did the
press, I tried to let go of all of my resistance as much as I possibly could. And I think the first sensation that I remember is tingling sensation, and then a little bit of fear. And then just trying to go through that. And then the next sensation I'm aware of is just total freedom.
Only a few years ago, home births and midwives were on the endangered species list, destined to extinction in favor of modern, super-sterilized in-hospital deliveries. But in this new age, some women have chosen an alternative way of bringing their most prized possessions into the world. This is Father Yad, a former U.S. Marine who was highly decorated during World War II. He is now known as the father to his following, the Brotherhood of the Source.
The most natural, beautiful thing in the world. And man has taken it and he's woven terror around it, hasn't it? The average woman is terrified at the thought of having her baby in this way. Such is her ignorance. But she's not to blame. Man has made her like that.
Heaven was the first one out of 14 or 15 women to experience natural childbirth in the Source family, all which came out perfect, no problems. Heaven just set the example for every other woman in the family. She did it perfectly. You were on a strict diet, no cooked food whatsoever. You had a certain amount of time every day you had to exercise. They did a lot of walking. You were supposed to get 2 hours a day in the sun. That was all preparation every day, and you were supposed to just relax. The pregnant women in the family were actually catered to because they were supposedly bringing in the gods for the age of Aquarius.
And respect is what? Love. They're the same. But many times, maybe now you understand why I love women so much.
Heaven and I were tight in the family. See, we all lived together like brothers and sisters. We lived in this large, beautiful brick mansion, and our children lived in a separate house from us. But when the children were first born, they slept every night with their mother. They didn't live in a crib. We were much different from most parents. The children slept with you until they were 7. Father gave us all the instructions. He had been a nutritionist before. He had delivered a few babies previous to putting together the Source family, and he did know quite a bit about exercise and diet for a pregnant woman. There was a registered nurse in the family, and we did have the midwife there at Heaven's birth as a precaution, but after that, every woman was like a midwife in the family and knew how to do it. It was a miracle every time.
At one time or another, most of us have wondered why there's any illness at all. Why can't we get well and stay healthy? The answers to these very questions may well be the key to our own healing. Perhaps before we can truly heal ourselves, we must discover if we are the ones who make ourselves sick in the first place, and if so, why. We've been told that what we call miracles are really natural events, misinterpreted by superstitious, primitive people. To truly understand these phenomena, we may need to alter our concepts of the universe, for science can no longer ignore these unorthodox techniques for curing the sick. Most healers, including many members of the medical profession, stress that there is too much emphasis in our society on curing disease rather than preventing it. The one point that all healers agree on is that true healing is self-healing. The individual who is ill or injured is the one who must assume the responsibility for making himself well. In the healing process, the healer, like the physician, is only a catalyst. It is becoming apparent that with respect to illness, we are both the cause and effect, and possibly the cure as well. Ultimately, this awareness can mean the difference between life and death.